welcome to Mash In, your North Texas beer podcast, sponsored by Harvest Seasonal Kitchen, downtown McKinney's first brew pub. I'm Toby.
I'm Bob.
We're here today in Sherman, Texas, with founder and brewer of 903 Brewing, Jeremy Roberts. Hello, Jeremy.
How are you guys?
Hey, Jeremy, how you doing?
Good.
We're doing.
See y'all.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much for being here, taking time out of your day. Here, you're a new expectant father.
This will be our second one.
Second one, number two.
Number two. First one was a boy, and this one's a girl. So
good.
We got
Nice
one of
mix.
each coming.
There you go.
Stop there. Number three is a game changer, bro. That's all I'm going to say. Number three is number three. You're in zone coverage. You're praying. You're holding on for dear life. That's for sure. But good. Congratulations, man. Very much, man. Thank you so much for taking out your time again. So a couple things. I'm going to start kind of early on, man. How did you get started? When did you get started? What made you decide to open up a brewery in Sherman?
Well, so my wife and I own a financial coaching company. We owned it for 14 years. And part of our job was to travel and speak at seminars. And, I started homebrewing in late 2007, early 2008. And, whenever we would go travel, I'd always find myself at a local, at a brewery.
It's a good place to end up.
Yeah, man, instead of going to, a pub or a restaurant, it's like, let's go to a local brewery. My wife and I are both from Sherman, and we thought, man, it'd be really cool if somebody opened a brewery in Sherman. And, just at this one brewery, we were actually in Chicago. One beer turned to two, two to four, four to six, and then it was like, hey, let's go open a brewery. Let's make it happen. And so, we were both feeling pretty good. And flying back home the next day, I'm on the plane working on my business plan, and Natalie leans over and says, what the hell are you doing? And I was like, I'm doing our business plan for the brewery. She's like, wait a minute. Are you serious about this? And I said, yeah. Are you not? She said, no. So, it took me about a year to convince Natalie to say, hey, let's get serious about this and open it up. And, more importantly, it was, we sold our financial coaching company. We just weren't happy. What we were destined to do. Mm-hmm. And us both being home brewers and our love for our community, we thought, man, this would be something that would just add value to our community. We saw what it did for other cities. And so, we're surprised, but we're not, to see that we've been able to duplicate what's been going on in other cities, across the country.
I know. Were you guys one of the first ones here?
We were the first one.
We're the first.
So we're the first. So we're actually the first brewery and the first brew pub, because we switched our license so that we could actually sell beer to go. Because Texas is the only state in the country, which is crazy, where a brewery cannot sell beer to go outside of it. So we got tired of people coming in and asking us, like, hey, can we get a growler? Can we get a can? Can we get a bottle? And we just kept saying no. And then so we thought, hey, we've got to convert to a brew pub. And that's what we did. And since then, there's been another brewery opened up in Denison 2 years ago. And one of our account Sellerman's just opened up as a brew pub. Mm-hmm. They've been open for almost 20 years, but just opened a brew pub here this last year. So, it's cool that not just across the country, but here in Texas in our community, craft breweries are just taking off.
So are you guys 4 years or 5 years?
So we'll be six in May. We're 5, but we'll be 6 in May. So it's gone by fast.
It has.
So go back to a little bit talking about the brew pub and that different licenses, which is obviously, like, if you're a brewer, you have a craft brewery, it's a heavy thing in everybody's mind, and the laws that we have here in Texas, because it is crazy. You can go into a whiskey distillery and buy a bottle of whiskey. You can go into a winery and buy a bottle of wine, but you can't go to a brewery and buy a 6-pack of beer. But you can here because you switch to the brew pub license. How does that? Try to explain what that means.
Well, we love all of our accounts. We're statewide. We're in every grocery store, we're every liquor store throughout the state. But when people come, and this is become like a tourist destination, people come into our brewery. It's frustrating for us because we're trying to be profitable. We're trying to keep our doors open. We're trying to gain more employees and just really grow. Being able to sell beer out of the tap room has been huge for us financially, because we're not just a wholesaler. Now we're a retailer. For example, when you see a 6-pack on the shelf at $9.99, most breweries, sold that beer to our distributor for $3.50 or $4 a 6-pack. So everybody's making more money than us, and so it kind of puts us on a level playing field to where we can be profitable. We can sell a 6-pack for $9.99 instead of wholesaling for $3.50. And so, kind of goes back to my wife and I's financial coaching days. It's like, it's being real smart with our money, investing where we need to invest, and being able to grow. And the only way that we saw that 903 could continue to grow and keep our head above water financially was to convert to a brew pub. And that's what we did.
So is this a good time to bring up the schoolhouse?
Yeah, we chat a little bit about the schoolhouse.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So, where we're hidden, where we're at is, we're right off 75, but there's this not so pretty warehouse that's blocking us from the highway.
Right.
And so people have a hard time finding us. And two, we can't buy this piece of property. Our landlord won't sell it to us. And, we want to be able to control our own destiny and what our facility looks like. So about 2 years ago, Natalie and I bought this old school building right off Highway 75. It's the first entrance towards our downtown from 75. And we're converting that into our new restaurant, event center, and brewery. And it sits on 2.5 acres. And the school is 3 stories. So the top floor is going to be an event center, ballroom for weddings and birthday parties. The middle floor is going to be our restaurant tap room. The bottom floor is going to be, restrooms and kitchen and elevator and, offices and storage space. And then on the property, we're building our new production facility. And we had some as everybody does in construction, some setbacks. Our original goal was to be up and going at the end of 2018, but it's looked like it's probably going to be the end of 2019. We're just about a year behind. But we should be there around this time next year.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, we're really excited about it.
So tell me a little bit about, so you guys opened up 6 years ago, right? Your first year, it's you and your wife. You have not a whole lot of people, right? And you don't have a ton of walk up business, I'm assuming, and then you're trying to get premise accounts and everything. What was that first couple of years like, man? Were you guys sweating? Were you guys, man, it was just kind of opened up, started brewing beer and everything was successful? What were those first couple of years like for you guys?
The thing is, like, when you're doing what you love, you don't realize how hard of a work it is, right? So when we opened our doors in 2013, we still had our financial coaching business at the time. So like I would get up and I would be brewing at 3 a.m. I'd be done with my first batch around 9 o'clock. And then I would do my consulting, till about noon. And then I would go out and do sales and make deliveries, come back at 5, have dinner with Natalie, catch up on the day, and then brew another batch that night.
Wow.
And so, literally, I wasn't sleeping at all, but I was doing what I love. I wanted to open a brewery. And a lot of people don't understand, we started out on a barrel and a half system. So we started super small. And we did that for about a year. And it just killed me. I mean, you can't be profitable on a barrel and a half. We were a brewery, not a brew pub at the time. And so I couldn't sell beer to go. Craft beer was really new to Sherman. So we didn't get a lot of people coming and hanging out here because it's a strong Coors, Miller, Bud, Corona, Dos Equis community. And introducing the type of beers that we brew was like really tough, right?
Yeah, I'm doing a 1-barrel system right now and it's hard to keep up.
It is, and at the same time, I can brew now. We have a 30-barrel system,
right,
and I can brew, really, 30 times more beer in less time than it was taking me on that, on that 1.5-barrel system. So, we're able to grow, to put out a whole lot more beer, brew a lot more beer, and at the same time help grow our market. So, that first year was such a struggle. I looked back at it now and I thought, how the hell did we do that? But, we were living our best life. We're doing what we wanted to do.
Living the dream.
To us, we were just having fun.
Yeah, for sure. So you guys get a couple of years in. When was that sort of turn the corner moment for you guys? When was it like, okay, man, we've been brewing on a barrel and a half system. We can now afford to upgrade. We can, expand a little bit. What was that? Was there kind of that moment for you guys, or was it just kind of a slow build process?
Yeah, so it's a slow process. The thing that Natalie and I, when we did our business plan, is look, I'm not like some of these breweries that when they first opened their doors, they only built it because they were going to sell it to some big beer company, right? So that's not where my head ever was in the game. So Natalie and I, our business plan is look, we're in this for the long haul. So one of the things that entrepreneurs really struggle at is being patient. Being patient. It's hurry up and wait is how, life is, right? Now, life goes really quickly, but our whole thing is like, hey, let's focus on and let's be patient and strategically do this right. So, we started on a barrel and a half system. We did that for a year. Then we upgraded to a 7-barrel system, and we did that for 2 years. And then we just upgraded, almost 2 years ago to a 30-barrel system. So, I see these breweries that are opening up their doors and they're building these big 30-barrel brew houses and they're doing all this. They're either doing, one or two things. They're either building a brewery to sell it, or, they're getting way too big too fast. Sam that owns and started, Dogfish. I mean, he started out on a I think it was just a half barrel system.
Oh, wow.
And, he worked his way up, and we kind of followed that same model. Let's focus on our beers. Let's focus on our market. Let's really focus on what direction that we want to go. And then the consumer's going to decide where we go. There's been so many times we're like, dude, this beer is amazing. We're going to put this beer out. It's going to crush it. This is going to be the next big beer. And it's a flop. We like it, but we're not the ones buying it.
Right.
Our customers are. And so, basically what we're doing is we're trying to, figure out what the customer's going to want, and then hopefully brew it to make it taste like it, so that they'll continue to buy it.
So I think it's really cool that you switched to a brew pub, because I think that it shows what you're committed in, and it shows that you're committed to your community. I mean, would you say, and you're obviously from here, is that community-driven philosophy, is that kind of what drives you and Natalie?
Yeah, we didn't name it Robert's Brewing Company. We named it 903 Brewers. Well, 903 is our area code, and we rep it big in our tap room. I rep it on my arm. This is where we're from. So I didn't want to name it Sherman Brewing Company or Grayson County, because we want to represent the whole Northeast Texas. And so when we do that, it's all a part of about getting the community involved, but us also being involved in the community. And so that's why, every month we're doing a fundraiser and really helping people that, that are in our community that are struggling. At the same time, incorporate local businesses with us. And, the beer that I'm drinking right now is Down with Patriarchy. It's a strawberry cake cream ale. And there's a local bakery that, if you live here for your birthday, you're getting a cake from Mom's Bakery. And so, we wanted to use a cake to make this beer. And I homebrewed like this. This is what I did. I did crazy stuff.
It's very good.
And thank you. And, so I just haven't done this yet professionally. And, I've got hundreds more that I've done that we haven't released. We'll release them over time. But this is one of them. And this beer's been such a big hit for us.
So you toyed with putting cake in your beer when you were homebrewing. That's fantastic. And it came out good.
Yeah.
And you're just like, hell yes.
Yeah.
So my biggest question is, was it just like, let's just try this one time and it worked and like, holy crap? Or was it just like, hey, let's try this? When are you putting the cake in there? When are you putting the donuts in there? Is it in the boil? Did you try different ways? Did you come out with different results or what?
So, what we want to do is we added into the mash with the grain.
Mm-hmm.
And so by doing that, that's where we're getting a lot of our sugar from. And so, that's where we are getting our sugar from.
Right.
And so, basically, when we did this at home, you add it into the mash, and basically what you're hoping is you get the flavor from the cake or the flavor from the donut, flavor from whatever you're using to transfer over into that. And so what we did on the strawberry cake cream ales is we added, it was 50 pounds of strawberry cake into the mash.
Wow,
and
that's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. And, taking it from saying, okay, we brewed this beer a long time ago, now we're brewing it today on a much larger scale, hopefully it comes through. There's no scale of like, add this much cake into the
yeah,
beer,
right,
right?
yeah.
Doesn't go into the beersmith.
No, it doesn't fit. And so, what we did is we added another 290 pounds of strawberry puree into the packaging tank, as well as vanilla. So, inside the strawberry cake, there's strawberries, there's vanilla. And so, that creaminess, this is a cream ale to get that flavor profile from the cake. And you can smell it like right there on the
Oh,
nose.
it does. It's very good.
It smells exactly like the cake.
It smells like strawberry cake
Yeah.
and tastes like strawberry cream cake. My wife's a pastry chef, and I'm definitely bringing something.
something
Yeah.
here tonight,
She will flip over this. So tell us a little bit about the Down with the Patriarchy, and like what brought you guys on to do that. What's your kind of goal there?
So, what I'm seeing is craft beer. So, like, when we opened up in 2013, we were the number 6 brewery, or brewery/brew pub to open. And since then, there's well over 70. There's hundreds more in planning, right? And so, what we're doing wrong as craft beer or craft brewers is our marketing and our marketing strategy is wrong. because we're marketing to the same customers. We're not growing at all. And so, one of the things that we do, because we focus on our home market, so, within a 20-mile radius of the tap room, is how to convert these drinkers into drinking our beer. And so what we've seen is the numbers of women in craft, the women drinking beer are not going anywhere. So, we were thinking, we're like, what if we reached the women? What if our target was reaching towards them?
Back in the day, they're the ones that started brewing in the first place.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it used to be women who brewed all the time. It wasn't a guy's job.
Well, and we live in a very man's world,
right?
And so this is a very, especially in the beer industry, it's very men. And so, one of the things that we pride ourselves on at 903 is we're a majority woman-owned brewery. We employ more women than we do men, and so we thought, hey, why don't we, get with the women of 903 and say, hey, this is our ideal. We're doing this down with the pastryarchy, because we use, pastries in the beer, and we're not trying to make a political movement by it. We're just showcasing, hey, we need more women to get into craft beer, and there's been so many articles that have come out lately that talk about women spend more money in the tap room than men. And so, our whole thing is like, my background, is sales and marketing. And so how can we reach the new audience? And what was crazy was the day that we released with Down with the Patriarchy here in the tap room, it was 80% women that were in my tap room. And, through our square, 50% of the women, or 50% of the people that purchased beer that day, whether it was beer to go or just beer at the tap room, have never been here before. And it was like, wow, it worked. Majority of the time I'll do something and it doesn't. It backfires in my face. Right. But it was a proven fact that we're doing a bad job of trying to get new beer drinkers and converting them to craft. And as crazy as it sounds, people, when we like announced on Facebook that we were brewing a beer with strawberry cake, people like making fun of us. But my thing is like, look, I'm not the average guy that just does that. Hey, you brew beer with these 4 ingredients, and if you don't do those 4 ingredients, it's not called beer. Well, that philosophy, that model is failing. People want what's new, what's hip, and it's our job to create those things. Now, not all of them are going to be a hit. We're going to have a lot of strikeouts. But, if we can come through with something, then, it could potentially be a game changer. And that's what the Down with the Patriarchy series has been. It's been a game changer for us.
What's something that you thought for sure was going to be your biggest hit,
and then flop,
and everybody was just like, nope?
So one of the things is we had a beer called 903 Blonde, and we teamed up with a local breast cancer group called Women Rock, and we converted our can. Our can was originally blue, so we converted our cans pink. And we thought, wow, this is so great. $1 of every case sold goes towards Women Rock. It's this great deal. And, who doesn't love a good blonde? Our blonde was a phenomenal beer. It was really good. I enjoyed drinking it. But what happened is when we changed the color of our can, all of a sudden, we lost that brand recognition. It was pink and yellow. So people's mind, they thought it was lemonade. And no one was buying it. It's literally sitting on the shelf. And it was a huge investment for us because we bought the cans from Ball, so we had to buy millions of cans to be printed, and we couldn't sell them. So, that wasn't so much a beer strategy, just a marketing strategy that just kind of really backfired in our face.
You pull out the spray paint can and spraying over the cans.
Unfortunately, we just had to crush it.
Unfortunately, you just had to drink all the beer. So back to your patriarchy. So you got the strawberry cake. It was a big success. You've got another one coming down the pipeline. So tell us about that a little bit, and then we'll go on.
Yeah. So we're gonna. Our goal is to release one every 6 weeks. And what's really cool, it gets the women of 903 together, gets them involved in the production side. Because what happens is when you grow to be this, the brewery the size that we are, that, the only time everybody gets together is a Christmas party, right? And so it's a good time for us all to get together and see what we do and get to know each other, because we are a family. And so we brewed this other beer, and we used a blueberry cake donut from Momo's Donuts here in Sherman. And so I called Momo up and I said, hey, Momo, I'm wanting about 50 pounds of donuts to go into it. How much does one of those donuts weigh? And he was like, oh, it's like, 0.11 ounces. Perfect. Okay, I need to make it work. I want to try to do about 60 pounds of donut this time. So I need 720 of them. So he never weighed them before. He didn't have to weigh them.
Sure.
We get here, it's 150 pounds of all those donuts. So I'm like, sweet, let's do it. Let's just add it all in, right? More the merrier. And we did it. And 720 pounds of blueberry cake donut. And we brewed it, I believe, a little over a week ago. And I tasted it today. And that cake flavor really comes through. So we're going to do the same thing. 290 pounds of blueberry puree is going to go in it, and we're going to add on vanilla, and that's going to really help give it the same flavor as like we've done with strawberry cake.
Interesting.
So we do one every 6 weeks down Patriarchy, whether it's donuts or cakes, and so we've been slowly lining them all up, to kind of get us through the next year.
It's awesome, man. Blueberry donuts are quite possibly the reason my wife and I got married or hooked up. We discovered a love for blueberry donuts early on.
So good.
Yeah, dude, it's my favorite thing ever. All right, man. So some big successes for sure, man. Let's talk to you about your recent success. You'd already acquired a silver medal from the Great American Beer Fest, and then just about a month or so ago, you got the bronze medal for your Scotch Ale. Why don't you tell us about kind of both of those beers and what that experience is like, what it's done for you, and what it's done for your business?
Yeah, so 2015, Sasquatch won a silver medal at the Great American Beer Festival, and man, that really kind of put us on the map. It kind of, our beer was only at I'm gonna pour this one now.
Please do. Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and finish that one. So
Go, Bob. Come on, chug, buddy. So go ahead.
So Sasquatch won a silver at the Great American Beer Festival. It really put us on the map. It helped, Sasquatch has medaled the last 3 years at the U.S. Open. And in 2017, it was rated one of the top stouts brewed in America.
Wow.
And what was really cool to get that
awesome.
recognition, because at the time our beer was only in North Texas. But, the amount of awards that we've won with that beer, and serving that beer at the Great American Beer Festival, like everybody paid attention to it. And then this year, Kilt Switch, which is a 13.9% wee heavy. Our brewer Wilson, this was his recipe, and he did a great job coming up with it. And so one of the things that we want to do in a wee heavy is we want it to be big. We do big things at 903, like Sasquatch is 10.3% alcohol. Kilt Switch is 13.9, and so we wanted it to be smooth, but also we wanted it, the flavor of a true wee heavy to come through. So we used some peated malt, which kind of gives it that like Scotch flavor to it. So a lot of people thought this beer was barrel aged, and it wasn't. But it's just so smooth. So, for a 13.9% beer,
That's very good.
very smooth.
It is.
Alcohol,
Very
like in
It's
most of our
fantastic,
beers.
man. I love that
Love the
beer.
smell.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys certainly achieved high ABV and smoothness, man. It's for a 13.9% beer is incredibly drinkable. And as somebody who only has 45 minutes to drink beer when he gets done closing the restaurant and then go to bed, I appreciate a high ABV beer to rock me to sleep. That's for sure.
It's one of those beers that, that can, if you got a bad morning, you have one, it'll make your day go good.
Yes.
And if you've had a bad day, you can have it before you go to bed, and it'll make the night a little, better. But actually this weekend, we're actually releasing the barrel-aged version of that. It's been in 8 months in Jack Daniel whiskey barrels, and we're pretty excited about it.
Awesome.
We're going to sell probably about 20. We only did, I think there's 58 cases. So we're going to sell about 20 cases probably Saturday out of the tap room. And then the remaining, which is 38 cases, are going to hit accounts all across just North Texas. So it's super limited. We only had 4 barrels that we saved for this batch, and I wish I'd had more. When we first brewed it, we had no idea this beer would be such a success. A lot of our accounts and distributors just said Scotch ales and wee heavies in general just don't sell. And so the amazing thing about this with Wilson is he created this recipe, and this is the first time he brewed it. So it's not like he toyed with it. He said, "This is it. This is what we're going to do." We brewed it once, and it was a hit. And to win an award at the Great American Beer Festival with it, it's pretty amazing. Our friends at Real Ale actually won a gold in the same category. They've won a gold the last 3 years. So they came over and high-fived us and told us congratulations, but told us that they're always going to win the gold. And so a little friendly rivalry, but
There's a challenge.
There's a challenge, but the beer that that Really All Brewed is a phenomenal beer, and it's nice to have two Texas breweries compete head to head with within the style.
So tell us a little bit. Is Wilson, is he your head brewer? Do you have a couple of brewers that work for you? It seems like you give them a pretty good of creative freedom, being a creative guy yourself. Mm-hmm. Kind of how is that dynamic? How's it helped you guys out?
Well, the thing that we've done and we've been strategic about is, not overstaffed. Because then if it doesn't work out or business isn't there, you just have to lay people off. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that we do here is we wear a lot of hats. And so, Wilson's our brewer. Wilson works really closely with the team. Like we had a team meeting this morning, just planning out brew schedules for the next 90 days and what we're going to brew and input on it. And, for me, one of the things that I've done and, brewers that are, people that work at breweries come and they enjoy about 903 is the creativity, freedom that you have here. So, I don't say, hey, this is how we've been doing it for this amount of years, so don't change it, right? My whole thing is, how can you make these beers better? I'm never happy with a beer. I'll drink it, and I'm like, okay, great. People tell me how much they love it, but I'm already figuring a way, and Wilson's already figuring a way how we can make this beer so much better. And so, with Wilson, his office is right there with ours, and we work daily on these are the beers we're going to brew. This is kind of what we're looking for in the flavor. Now make it happen. And so we give a lot of freedom here, and I credit to a lot of our success as our people can grow, and it grows our brewery and our brand.
Absolutely. So I can't think of another brewery in Texas really that has just nailed the heavy, dark stouts, your wheat haves. I can't think of another one that has so many different options out there, and they're all really good. Is that something that you kind of set out to do? Is that something that the consumer led you to do? Is that something that just kind of was like,
Have you ever done anything low alcohol?
Yeah. So our number one seller is Cerveza Por Favor, Mexican lager, 4% alcohol. We actually brewed that beer is to be kind of a gateway beer for people to get into craft and work their way up. So we're known for that. We've tried, and we just haven't been known for our IPAs. And we brew them, and if you go and talk to every brewery, what beer do you sell the most? Their IPA. Right. This is it. This is what we sell the most of. We've got a great relationship with Tups, and we kid, and they they're like our little brother. And the reason why we call them our little brother, they're younger than us. Right. We've been open longer, and we're really proud of their success and their growth, and great family. Remind us of a lot of ours, the way they work together, and they've crushed it with their IPAs, especially their DDH series, the Day of the Dead, the Juicy Pale Ale.
I was there last night having some.
They kill it, and so they also the Full Grown Man is a phenomenal beer, and so they've done a really good job with that. So going back to what I said earlier, is the consumer decides what we brew, and whenever you do good at something, you just stick with it. And we do a good job brewing big beers. We have Ogre, which is our Imperial Oatmeal Stout. It is 15.5% alcohol. Then we have Manticore, which is another one. Sasquatch turns 5 this year, so we can go next door and taste it. It's in the tank. But we're doing a Sasquatch Reserve series. So we took the ABV on Sasquatch, upped it from 10.3 to 13% alcohol. Wow. And just making that mouthfeel, that body there that we're wanting in a big beer at the same time, just not burn. And we've oaked aged it. And so we're just, we love winter. We love, even though it's not always cold in Texas, but it gives us the time to really showcase our big beers, and we're good at it, so we just stick with it.
That's awesome.
So what's the highest ABV that you've done?
Well, Ogre and Manticore, 15 point, and it was 15. Damn hard to do that.
I said that's hard getting up that high.
What makes that challenging?
Well, so for example, whenever, let's just say that this is our mash tun, right? So when I brew Cerveza Por Favor, the grain bed is right here. When I brew Manticore, it's completely full. When I brew Ogre, it's completely full. And so you can't get any more grain in there. Right. That pushes the limit. And then that's also where you get a stuck mash. And so if this is stuck, what are you going to do? And so, you have to be real strategic about how much grain that you put into this tank. and into the mash tun, and then at the same time, the conversion, is it going to be there? Right. So it's very impossible. Our goal was, the highest ABV beer we could brew is 17.99% as a brew pub, right. And so our goal was to do that. And we landed at 15.5. We were upset, but every other brewery was like, "How the hell did you do that?"
Yeah.
And so just always shoot higher than what your target is, and then if you fall back just a little bit, then you'll be all right.
It's high risk, right? Sort of lower payoff. Like for a brewer, it's a lot of risk for you to commit to just to be able to do it, to kind of funnel that creative.
I mean, just to give you an idea, to brew 60 barrel batch, my yeast cost is around $5,000. And to ship that yeast is around $1,000 because they got to overnight it. So I'm $6,000 just in yeast.
Just in yeast,
right? And so whenever people are like, "Oh my gosh, a bottle sells for $16.99, that's ridiculous." I'm like, well, let me show you. This is why it does that, and this is the cost for it. Where Cerveza Por Favor, which you can find at most retailers for $7.99 a 6-pack, well, it's a very cheap beer to brew, and so we pass those savings on to our customer.
Do you think that having your brew pub license and doing that kind of helps you to be able to do beers like that? Because you can sell it directly to the consumer, you can sell it retail. It's a lot more than just the beer. It's a little bit of marketing, it's a little bit of community, getting everything together. Do you think that sort of, it allows you to push the boundaries as a brewer, but also a little bit of payoff for your business as well, or your business model, what you guys are trying to accomplish?
So like I was saying earlier on Kilt Switch, the barrel age that we're releasing Saturday in the tap room, 20 cases are going to be sold out of here. The remaining 38 are going out to accounts. Realistically, I should just sell them all out of my tap room. But we've had customers that have been with us for a long time. And so, we're spreading the love a little bit. So we're sending 38 cases out, but we have way more than 38 accounts. So some are going to get upset. But what we're trying to do is like the ones that have taken care of us all year long, we're going to take care of them, and then hopefully some of the accounts that haven't will start. We did no draft on that. It's all packaged beer. But to go back to it, yes, that's what's given us the freedom to be able to do this. Is because we can sell them out of the tap room, and we can make more money selling out of here versus just selling it to a wholesaler.
So do you find the tap room is a good test bed?
Perfect test.
You get a lot of the feedback from customers saying you did this wrong, you could do better here.
Yeah, and you got to be careful who you listen to. And so we've learned that. We've made those mistakes. But my favorite thing to do is to come in here on Saturdays, hang out in the tap room, talk to people. And for example, someone comes in and they try an IPA and they're like, "Man, this beer is not good." Well, what beers do you normally drink? Well, I like a Hefeweizen, or I like a wheat beer. Okay, well, you're not going to like an IPA, right? And so, my whole thing is not to laugh at them. It's just like, okay, look, I'm sorry you got the IPA, but let's find a beer that you normally drink and then get them to fall in love with it. So that's what I love about our tap room. Is I can talk to people, I can educate them on it. But the cool thing that Natalie and I always talked about, we first opened our brewery, we started out with an amber and the chosen one, which is our coconut cream ale. And it was about 6 months after that we brewed a brown ale, a porter, and our stout. And what was really cool is the customers who came in and they drank our coconut or they drank the amber is within a year we worked their way up, and now all they come here to do is drink our porter or stout. It's really, so that's our whole goal, is to get them to fall in love with, our beer and our brand, our story, and then let's work their way up, and so that they'll try beers that they normally don't try. And we don't charge for samples at our tap room. Someone comes in, do you do flights? No. Well, why not? Well, let's just try beer. I'm not going to charge you for samples. It. But I do sell pints here. So my goal is to find a beer that you fall in love with and then sell you a pint of it so you can go sit at your table and enjoy it, versus 10 beers and you only like 3 of them, and the other 7 you just pour them down the drain. And that's what I love doing here is working with our people on finding a beer that fits them.
Yeah, man, it's about relationships for sure. Even the Tubbs guys and you just guys have diehard fans. I mean, they come in all the time. I have people that come in from Sherman. Right. They sit at the bar at Harvest, and they're just like looking around, looking for the 903 tap. They're like, "You heard 903 up in Sherman? Pretty good stuff." You know what I mean? It's just like they are committed, man.
Subtle hint.
Yeah. And I'm like, I've got it, man. I've got it in the can. I've got it on the draft. Absolutely. And you don't build that, I feel like, without relationships, without spending some time in the tap room and really embracing your community. So one thing I love about North Texas, I love day trips. I love the little bitty road trip. My wife and I used to take a lot of them before we had so many kids, and it was always to go get barbecue or go to a brewer, go to wherever. And if you live in the McKinney area, or you live in Northern Plains, if you live in North Dallas, Texas, anywhere, one of my favorite day trips of all time is when we took our staff up here to 903, and then we went to Iron Root, and Robert and his family gave us a tour of the Iron Root Distillery. You can go by Grayson College and see TV Munson's original grapevines. You can go see Eisenhower's home, right? It's just a nice little loop, and so I love that. And so two of my favorite things up here, which is 903 and Iron Root, and you've got one of your bottles. This was a special release from how long ago?
So we released this beer back in December.
Okay.
And so this is our stout that was aged in Iron Root whiskey barrels. And the cool thing about it is they haven't really released any of their barrels. I've got an opener here.
Got a better one.
Yeah,
There we go.
Hey, you brought a knife to a gunfight, Bob. You got a wine opener.
I carry this around with me all the time.
A brewer always has a good bottle opener, even though that we mainly can. But let me see your glass. So talk a little bit about this and our relationship with Iron Root. Funny story. So Iron Root, I used to live out in Pottsboro, Texas, which is about 20 minutes north of here. And Iron Root, Jonathan, who's one of the brothers that owns it, moved in across the street. And so it was the time that, we were getting ready to open the brewery, and I saw there was Illinois license plates. So I went over there and I introduced myself, and I said, "What brings you to this area?" And he said, "Well, we're opening a distillery." And I was like, "No shit, I'm opening a brewery, right?" And so we hit it off perfect.
That's awesome.
And he was tweaking his, and as far as doing what they need to do to get up and go on and get his recipes down. So at night he would come over there and help me homebrew, and during the day I'd go over there and help him. And it's really cool to see, the success that they've had and the success that we've had, and it's just been a really good, perfect marriage for us. Like in any business, man, you have struggles, and we have struggles in our business. They have struggles in theirs. It's different, and so. We're also, the cheerleaders for each other. And so, we've been using a lot of other whiskey barrels just because theirs wasn't available. And, people would always come, there's a distillery in Denison, you should use their barrels. Well, they don't have them yet. And so this is the first barrels they released, and it was the first barrels that we got. But right there on the nose, you get, a strong whiskey flavor from it. And, being that they're so close, the barrels that we got, they were super fresh. They just dumped them, so we immediately put Sasquatch in it. And in our barrel age program, we we don't blend any at all, which means that we don't, once the beer's in the barrels, we don't add regular Sasquatch to kind of push it where we can have more, or to kind of tone it down. So we want it kind of like in the distillery world, like cask strength, and that's what we've done with this. So you take that first drink. You get everything that you love about Sasquatch. And Sasquatch is an Imperial Chocolate Milk Stout, 10.3% alcohol. We use a lot of chocolate malt, a lot of roasted malt, and, just aging in the barrels. And in these barrels, it aged for about 4 months. And these were 25-gallon barrels, so a lot smaller, so they don't need to sit as long. And, what's crazy, on this first run, we had 4 of their 25-gallon barrels. So they were the same whiskey was in it. So the first one, when we tasted Sasquatch in it, we got a lot of vanilla. The second one, we got a lot of oak. The third one, we didn't get really much of anything, but the fourth one was tons of coconut flavor. And so it's really crazy how each barrel pulled out a different flavor. And then so when we blended all those barrels together, we got what we're tasting right here, which in my opinion, it is the best beer we ever released. This is my opinion. I love the flavor. I love the way that it just sits on your palate, and you get that coconut, you get that vanilla, you get the chocolate, you get the oak, you get the whiskey. And, I wish I had a lot more. We only yielded, I want to say, like 20 cases. So it's all gone. So I had 3 bottles left out of my own personal collection. Now I've only got 2, so I saved it for you guys to drink and drink with me. And man, I mean, I'm so in love with this beer. We got 10 more barrels, and we have our Ogre aging in it, which is 15.5%. And man, it's Ogre's a different beer than Sasquatch, because Sasquatch is imperial milk stout, chocolate milk stout, and Ogre's an imperial oatmeal stout. So you get a lot of those oats, like when you eat oatmeal. So it tastes different, but a lot of those, that vanilla, coconut, chocolate, you're going to get a lot of the same in those as you do with this one.
So when you and I first met, and I first met Robert, maybe 4 months ago, we went over there and tasted some of the beers that you guys had, plus Tubbs had in those barrels. Now, was this some of the same? Well, that's the one you were going to make into the whiskey. Mm-hmm. Now, is that ready yet?
We actually help Iron Root with their single malt, to brew it. So, I think it's got probably another year and a half before that's ready. But, Tubbs took some of their, I can't remember which beer it was, and they sent it to Iron Root. Iron Root distilled it and sent it in barrels, and it's really good. It's amazing. It's amazing what barrels do to whiskey.
Oh,
spirits.
It is. It was phenomenal. As I met you guys for the first time, and I got to do some of that tasting, and it was just crazy.
Yeah, we had a fun day that day.
It was. That was a lot of fun.
Next day sucked, but that day was a whole lot of fun. And they do such a great job. They're so small. So many people haven't heard of them, and they have different challenges that we do. But just as far as like, go to a typical bar, or they can't sell beer sell whiskey in a gas station or a grocery store. So they don't have that brand recognition that we do. But outside of our area and throughout the world, Iron Root is turning heads. And Jonathan, who was my neighbor, who's the head distiller over there, is absolutely crushing it. My favorite thing to do is to go over there and taste their barrels. And then write my name on it and said, that one's coming to me. That one's coming to me. But, we have so much talent up in this area that, like you said, like day trips. It's crazy. So they're only open the first Saturday of the month. Mm-hmm. And so like this Saturday, they'll be open. And so, we kind of plan a lot of our big events where we do a bottle release or new beer release around that. So it'll drive people up here. They'll hit us up. And what we want to do is send them on their way to go down there. I mean, for us, when Iron Root succeeds, we succeed.
Right.
When 903 succeeds, Iron Root succeeds. And so, we're on the same team. And
both are doing awesome.
Well, thank you. And we're proud to have them in our community. I'm glad that they relocated and moved here. And their success has been phenomenal. And this beer right here, just how this turned out, it's amazing. It's an amazing beer. And I don't really toot my own horn very often.
You need to on this one.
I don't boast and brag. I'm a very humble person. But this beer I definitely did, and I'm happy how it turned out.
It's an awesome effing beer, man. It is so good. It is so good, man. That is so good. And I was gonna say the first thing I smelled was coconut, and I'm like, well, that can't be right, Toby, you hillbilly, man. There's no coconut in there. You know what I mean? And it's crazy. And I do, man. I think that's one of the most interesting things. I mean, we have a lot of, barrel age this and barrel age that, but I really think it's super interesting what happens to the beer in barrels over time, and how you said every barrel is different. Every barrel kind of can have its own sort of character and do certain things to the different types of beer that you put in there. And I think that's really interesting. And I think it's really cool that, especially in this case, you just let it be. You didn't blend. You didn't achieve what it was what it was, and what it is happens to be really damn good.
Well, and the thing is that people always ask me, like, well, how long does it sit in the barrel? Well, I tell people when it's done exactly how long it was in there, but I don't decide when the beer's ready. The barrel tells me. And so, we were really lucky last year. We got some Opus 1 wine barrels, and we aged Sasquatch in it. I was in Great Divide's tap room, and the Yeti is kind of similar style of Sasquatch, and so I had some of theirs it was in Merlot barrels. And I was like, this beer is really good. And I came back, told everybody, hey, we're going to try to find some barrels that, like a Merlot or a Cab to put Sasquatch in. They're like, you're crazy. Well, popped up, these Opus 1 barrels are available. And I was like, let's do it. Let's get those Opus 1 barrels. And we aged Sasquatch in it. And, it's probably the highest rated barrel aged beer that we've ever released. Think about it. With wine, especially like a Bordeaux, chocolate pairs very well with it, right? So with Sasquatch being this imperial chocolate milk stout, it's like a perfect marriage between, Sasquatch and the Opus 1 barrels. And so we released batch 1 of that around Valentine's last year. And so batch 2, our goal was to release it Valentine's this year. But, we tasted the beer out of the barrels and it's ready. So we're not going to let it, leave it in there. We're going to go ahead and take it out now. And so we have Bordeaux barrel-aged Sasquatch that we're going to be bottling next week. And then it'll hit the market sometime mid to late November. And, we've got a lot of barrel-aged beers that we're about to drop. And, we do things a little bit differently. Like if you go to any other brewery, they age their barrels in, around 65 degrees, 70 degrees. Whenever I go and hang out at the distillery, they talk about how that, the heat is what pulls all the flavor from the barrels. And so in the summer is really great to figure out when the whiskey's going to be ready. So I was like, well, why don't we do beer that way? Well, everybody, lets them sit 65 to 70 degrees. And so this summer was an absolutely best summer for us in barrel aging. And it's going to prove itself. So most of the time this summer, it'll get 100 degrees, but it'll stay in the low to mid 90s. So this summer, if you remember, it got up pretty warm, but then it got kind of cool at night. It was in the 70s. So the beer was expanding in the barrels and then coming back, and then it was just like blending itself. And so our barrels matured a whole lot faster, and it pulled the flavors that we want. And it gets really hot in that brew house. And so, 120 degrees. And so we were able to achieve those high temps, and then at night it really cooled off. And so that's the reason why our beers have matured this fast.
So do you have any internships coming up so I can teach me a little bit?
Well, we always call it, Natalie and I do, it's a wing and a prayer. We wing everything and just pray it turns out.
Well, I was going to say it's a pretty big pretty big investment. And going back to saying earlier about pick who you listen to. Sometimes the best person is listen to yourself. And, getting however much you invested into the barrels, right? Plus the beer, plus the amount of grain that you're using in doing these high ABV beers, putting it in a barrel, and then winging a prayer, letting it sit through in a warehouse in a Texas summer, and then discovering that it's the best possible thing for the beer flavor-wise.
And we did that because we learned that from them. Everything else tells you, we used to store a beer in this tap room and we'd keep it at 70 degrees,
sure.
But it wouldn't pull those flavors. But, we talked about strikeouts earlier. I got some, which barrels were they? Were some Scotch barrels. I can't remember which distillery it was. It'll come to me. Macallan Scotch barrels. And that I aged Sasquatch in. And the thing about, when anything comes from another country, it's got to sit through customs. And it's very important how barrels are taken care of. And so, I have know how long those barrels were in customs for. But when we got those barrels here, we cured them, we did everything that we could. We aged Sasquatch in it. And in the first 3 months, the beer was turning out phenomenal. I love Scotch. So it's pulling out the peated malt flavor, kind of the same thing in Kilt Switch. But then all of a sudden, after about 6, 7, 8 months, some of those beers in that barrel started to turn. And the best way that I can describe it is you were getting like a nail polish on the nose and a green apple on the finish. And, it was such a huge loss for us, but we had to dump them. And, there's no way that in 903 Brewers barrel program that I could put that out. And, we had to do the same thing. We got some barrels that were Pinot Noir barrels that we actually aged milk and honey in. And they had a green apple flavor, and we had to dump those. We weren't wanting green apple; it's an infection. And so that's the reason why we were just like, hey, look, we're going to stick to whiskey barrels. If we can get iron root, that's what we're going to use. And I think if we can get more Opus 1 barrels, we'll continue to use those because it's been a really good thing for us. But we just love a relationship with iron root. That we hope that we can kind of continue that with those guys.
Yeah, that'd be good. So how many batches will you get out of a barrel? Can you reuse the barrels 4 or 5?
Realistically, up to 2 times.
Okay.
And then after that, you're going to pretty much pull all the flavors from it.
Okay.
Really not much left. And at that point, you don't want to push the envelope and then, claim to have a barrel-aged beer.
Right.
And there's nothing there, right? So, And that's something that we may look at taking a couple and just seeing the life, how we can do it. But usually we get 2 runs out of it. And after that second run, what we're taught is that's it. It's done.
Time for planters.
Yeah. Turn them into something.
Cut them in
Tables,
half
planters,
and
whatever.
plant
Yeah.
some things into 'em.
So what's on the horizon for 903? What do you guys have coming down the pipeline? Any bottle releases, events, anything we should know about and talk about?
Yeah, so this summer is going to be, this winter is going to be really good from the summer that we had with our barrel-aged beers. So, Kilt Switch, barrel-aged, releasing this week. Bordeaux, barrel-aged Sasquatch in about 2 weeks. Manticore, which is our Imperial Oatmeal Stout, is going to be released 1st of December. And then Ogre, and Manticore is going to be in Jack Daniels barrels. Ogre, which is in Iron Root barrels, is going to be mid-December. We've got Sasquatch Reserved that's going to be coming out, another Patriarchy series that's coming out. So we've been busy, and we've been busy coming up with new beers. And that's what we're seeing as a consumer wants. They don't want your year-round beer. They get that anytime. What's new, what's fresh, what's hip. And, we brewed a New England style IPA, and that's just not what we're known for. Will we do another one? Absolutely. We feel like we can improve on it. But right now we're focusing on our barrel age program and brewing some big boy beers.
Cool. Awesome stuff.
How fast when you guys do a bottle release? How early does somebody have to get here? Is it something that goes pretty quick and you kind of got a line out the door type of thing? What's a bottle release day like for the consumer?
So what we did was, being an hour from Dallas, and that's where a lot of the customers come up from that want this beer, is we kind of wanted to skip the lines. It's cool to have it. One of the things that I hate waiting in a line. And, what if the weather's bad? We created a bottle club. You can join our bottle club. It's $195. You get X amount of bottles. It's usually $3 cheaper a bottle than if you stand in line and you buy it out of the tap room. And then we also will email you and say, hey, this is what we yielded. You get 1 or 2 bottles coming out of this release. If you want to buy any more, there's no limits. You can buy them at the same price, the bottle club, which is usually $3 cheaper, and we'll hold them for you for up to 6 weeks. And so we don't have those lines at the door anymore because so many people have joined our bottle club, which we love because, it's easy to see where our beer is going. It's easy to keep up with them, get feedback from them. But we do limit it, normally to 2 to 3 bottles per person. So that way, if somebody doesn't able to get here super early, if they get here at the end of the day, they'll do them. And then what we'll do is not on all of them, like the Iron Root one sold out, but as you can see, we still have some bottles up there from some previous releases. I'll store them and then I'll just put them out. So what I really enjoy is seeing somebody who hadn't been here in 6 months go, oh, that's the beer I've been wanting. I didn't know it was still here. Well, I just put it out this morning, and kind of hide it. And don't make a big deal about it, because it's the coolest thing when someone drives all this way to hang out with me on a Saturday to find a bottle that they didn't know would still be there, just sitting there on the shelf. But we're kind of strategic about how we do that. But yeah, it's going to be a good winter for us as far as what we've got, what we're releasing, and we're pretty pumped about it. And it's what I enjoy doing here at the brewery.
So Bob, you want to give a little update about what you have going on at Harvest? We've got the Farmer's Daughter with the new experimental malt coming out.
We do. It's made with the Calypso malt, Calypso grain. It's still the pale and the Pilsner mix. It's coming in, the flavors coming in real nice.
Nice. We got a Calypso malt from a farmer out of Hillsboro. So we got an all locally malted Farmer's Daughter, which is pretty exciting.
Yes. Tex Malt did the malting for us, and the flavors are coming out really nice.
Awesome.
Very cool. And then we got Red River Rye, batch number 4 is going to be back up and running.
It is, and that's the one we're dry hopping. 1.5 pounds of hops. Most I've done in a 1-barrel system so far. We're looking forward to that.
Is that different than what you're dry hopping with, Jeremy?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit different. And I'm on a 1-barrel system, so 1.5 pounds is good.
Rick told me a long time ago that the farther you go, your mistakes just get more expensive.
Yes.
They just get a lot more expensive.
Rick is full of wisdom.
Right.
So yeah, we're excited. This batch for the Red River, we're on day 10.
10. Bob's very meticulous. This goes for an engineer. Day 10-ish. We're day 10-ish. So we got the Red River Rye coming out, dry hop. That'll be ready to go on November 11th. That is Keg Day.
Yes.
And we'll release that out. We'll put that on that Monday. So we had a lot of success with it. People loved it as it matured and aged. It got better and better. I felt like we got a rye from North Texas, from Tex Malt as well, that I thought was really fantastic. I thought I did really well. So I thought the missing component was just to add a little bit on the nose there for sure. So anyways, we'll have those coming out. Certainly come out to Harvest and have a giant glass of 903 and see what's going on. Jeremy, thank you again, man. Really appreciate it. Love the beer. It's fantastic. If you live in Trinity Falls or if you live in McKinney or you live anywhere, it is such a short drive up here. Oh my God, it only took me like 3 long Willie Nelson songs. They weren't like 7-minute songs, and I was here. It's so quick. And if you get a chance, go out to Ironwood as well. What the guys are doing up here is absolutely fantastic. So certainly worth the day trip without a doubt. Thanks again, and that's it for this episode of Mash In.
All right. We'll see you guys later.
Cheers.
See ya.